So, hello, today I'm going to tell you how you can set up your guitar, and this doesn't mean you have to buy components or something like this. If you already have a guitar and you didn't consider adjusting those parameters, there might be a lot where you can improve your sound straight away. So you can just spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes and immediately improve the sound of your guitar. First of all, I have to say there's tons of videos out there. Just check out if you're interested in more details. I will just give you a rough overview which parameters there are and how the general idea is to adjust them. But if you want closer details, please do some search by yourself as well. Okay, so the first and obvious thing is you should make sure that your guitar is clean. So if there's dust or rust, or if there's loose screws or loose parts, make sure to remove them to avoid buzzing sounds. For example, on one guitar I had the issue that one of those machine heads was loose, and this was really just with one particular frequency vibrating. So by replacing it, you can immediately save a lot of noise that you don't want to have. Okay, so the next, or actually the obvious thing, is you want to have fresh strings. And I don't mean like fresh, you don't have to put new strings on whenever you grab your guitar. What I mean is, if you have a guitar that's in the corner for 1 year, 2 years, and there's rust on your strings or something like this, in this situation you have to replace them in straight away, because you can also hurt your fingers, your skin, and but don't wait until there's rust on your strings. Just make sure that you have what feels best for you. And if you notice that the strings get bad, just take new ones. It's six euros maybe, or $6 to buy new ones. And also for strings, there's something which you should consider if you're a beginner. There's like thinner strings and thicker strings. The thin one might be more comfortable to play, and you can do easily bends. But in general, the sound, as the strings are thinner, the sound is a little bit stranger. So thicker strings might give you better sound, especially if you want to tune down a guitar. The guitar, you should consider having thicker strings. But it's certainly possible to also play with thinner strings, and to practice if you're a beginner. There's nothing bad about it. Okay, so the first thing to set up on a guitar, which is really a setup and which you should not do by yourself, is to make sure that there's no curvature on your guitar neck. So the guitar neck, if you look at it like this, in the video you might not recognize it. I will put a picture of this. You see that there's this line here, yeah? And this should be a line and not a parabola or something. So depending on whether it's like up or down the parabola, you should adjust the neck, or let someone adjust your neck so that it becomes as straight as possible. In certain cases it's not possible anymore, but please, if you see that there's some curvature and you can feel it, also if the parabola gets too high, that you have to push down the strings in the middle of the fretboard much more. If you have to put more pressure to get the sound, then check it out and try to fix this. Okay. But not yourself, yeah. Just ask someone, because there's just one screw, and you can immediately screw up your whole guitar by just overdoing it or breaking this. Okay, so the next thing that you can set up is the height of the strings, and this is actually the first thing to set up. You want to have no buzzing sound. So if you play with pick or with fingers, it also can make a difference. But essentially what you want is, if you play along all the tones that you can play, you don't want to have some buzzing sounds. And the perfect sound, of course, does not exist, as I told you. So there are some advantages of having higher strings, there are some advantages of having lower strings. it depends what kind of style you want to play. Do you want to play chords, or do you want to play lead guitar, or whatever? There are several options. I just wanted to point you to the fact that you can adjust these heights, and it's quite easy because on this guitar, as you can see here, you have some strings here, the mountings for the strings, and there are some screws where you can adjust the height. And on other guitars it looks slightly different. Let me show you how this looks on a Epiphone. It's a Casino. Sorry. Here you can adjust the height by turning these screws, so the entire thing goes up and down. So you cannot change it individually for the strings, but you adjust it for all 6 strings simultaneously. Okay, yeah, another advantage of having the strings adjusted individually is that you can even adjust it like you can make some curve. And also on the guitar fretboard, you might not notice it immediately, but there is some curvature. So the middle strings are a little bit higher, and you might notice this also on the pickups. Yeah, so there are some pole pieces, especially if you have like single coils, and maybe you can even adjust those for your guitar. But it's an option to adjust single coils so that you can get more or less volume from different strings. So if, as I said, I cannot cover everything in this video, but just to make sure, you can adjust the height of the strings, and also make sure if you want to have some curvature on the strings, which is somehow comfortable for picking. Yeah, you can do this. You can also adjust, of course, the height of the pickups. So there's some screws like here and there for some guitars. There's even more than 2 screws where you can just put the pickup out or in, which means that there's more or less volume. But also keep in mind that if you get the pickup closer to the strings, it also makes some unwanted, you have some, how to say, the signal is on both sides, and if you get the pickup too close, it can be more on one side, yeah, because there's some magnetic field. So make sure to have the right distance, and but it's good to know that you can adjust the height of the pickups, because you have usually more than one pickup. Here you have for strato types you have 3, and you can adjust the heights in case of one of them is louder than the others. So you can put this one a little bit further in to make all channels, if you use the switch, to make all channels have roughly the same volume. Or if you want one channel to be more aggressive, you can put it out or the others in, or maybe you want to have more volume on the thick strings, on the low strings. So this is certainly something that you can immediately adjust just by turning screws here. And another important thing that you should definitely do if you have a guitar, especially if it's right out of the factory, is to check the intonation. In German we also say Octavreinheit, which means that literally translated, that the octave is pure, the purity of the octave. And what is meant by this, if you look at one string, that's why I also put clip-on tuners here. Does it work? It's empty. Cool. This one is empty. Sorry for that. So you can see I have like the A string, and if I play the 12th, this is important. I want to have on the 12th string, I want also to have an A. It should not be more than an A. This is by bending. I'm just simulating how it would sound if it's too high pitched. this would be too high, or it can also be too low. So I'm now a reverse maybe. So if it sounds like this, it's too low. And depending on whether it's too low or too high, this is caused by the fact that it should be this length between the neck and the bridge should be exactly double the distance between the 12th fret and the bridge. Yeah, you want that this is precisely the same length as here. That's the theory. In practice, however, it also makes a difference which thickness of the strings you have, or how much pressure you put on the fingers. Because if you put more pressure on the fingers, you get the pitch a little bit higher. But in general, what you want is you want to adjust those screws here. So you have some screws here for for a Stratocaster. There are screws here for other guitars. The screws can be somewhere else. Let me show you on another guitar. Yeah. So on the Epiphone Casino, for example, you have to use those screws here to adjust the position. But in general, you can, with this trick, you can make sure that for all those 6 strings, if you play the strings, that you get really the octave. And maybe I didn't now check exactly. It could be that my guitar got a little bit out of tune. But in general, you really should check this carefully. Take some time that every string. So this one might be a little bit too low. Yeah, okay, it is too low tuned. Yeah, that's the issue. Yeah. So this is essentially what makes a very big difference, especially if you play with other people. If you just play alone, you might not notice it so badly, but if you play with other guys in your band and you keep on playing on the low part and someone else is starting to play on the 12th fret or further, it might completely sound out of tune at some point if this is too wild. Okay, so there can be other effects as well. For example, if you have a bad cable, you might hear some cracking if you start wiggling around or doing something. It could also be that some screws here on the connection between, so that there's some screws here and there, that some of those are loose. Just make sure that if the screws are tight and there are still some cracking, maybe just replace the cable. This can definitely help a lot. Especially because there are some cables which have better qualities and some isolation against noises. As I said, if you have some parts like machine heads, or if some knobs make issues, so for knob or even the switch, please check out a guitar store, because it can be really it should not take a lot of money. Maybe also already a contact spray will help, but please contact someone to help you with this, not that you screw it up. But in general, replacing some of those parts, especially if they are broken, it can really improve your sound a lot. And you shouldn't really save money just to keep on playing a broken instrument. And last but not least, what I also noticed, I didn't open it now, but essentially for Strat type, or if you have Floyd Rose systems, whatever this means, there are screws here in springs, not screws. There are springs on the back which ensure that you can use a tremolo bar. So here you could mount a tremolo bar, and those springs can vibrate. So if you notice that on some specific frequency, for me it was somewhere here, I don't know, one of those, at some point I heard some sustain, so I was playing a note and stopped, then the guitar kept on making this sound. And if you experience something like this by yourself, and you don't know where this sound is coming from, try out to do something with the springs. I will put a picture. So there's several solutions to this. If you Google for it, in general, if you have issues, it doesn't matter if it's guitar or something else. Just try to search for it. Other people experience similar issues. I can promise. Yeah, and especially if you have some spring issues, just just put something to the springs so that they cannot vibrate. Okay, so this is it. Thank you very much for your attention, for your interest. Ciao!